Why does it feel like people became hostile in last 10 years? Have you ever felt like people are just angrier than they used to be? It's not just you. A lot of people feel this way. Over the past decade, hostility seems to have increased, whether in politics, social issues, or even day-to-day interactions. But why is this happening? Have people actually changed, or does it just feel that way because of the way we interact now? I want to investigate this from a philosophical standpoint, because philosophy and history can help us determine whether this is a novel phenomenon or merely a byproduct of social change. Let's break it down into a few key ideas. 1. The breakdown of shared norms. For most of history, societies have functioned on an unspoken agreement to social contract. As philosophers like Hobbes, Locke, and Rousseau would say, we follow certain rules, not just because the law says so, but because we all agree it's the right way to live together. But what happens when people stop agreeing on those rules? Over the past decade, we've seen growing divisions on fundamental questions. What is free speech? What is justice? What is fairness? What are rights? And what are responsibilities? When these agreements break down, interactions start feeling more hostile because people no longer feel like they are playing by the same rules. This creates an us versus them mentality. Hobbes warned that without a strong common authority, society could become chaotic, what he called a war of all against all. Does that sound familiar? 2. The rise of social media and outrage culture. Now, let's talk about something that didn't exist in Hobbes's time: social media. Platforms like Twitter, Facebook, and TikTok have completely changed the way we communicate. The problem is they reward emotional reactions, especially outrage. Content that makes people angry gets more clicks, more shares, and more engagement. The result? An environment where the loudest, angriest voices dominate. Think about it. If you scroll through your feed, what kind of posts get the most attention? The reasonable, balanced discussions? Or the ones where someone is calling out someone else, making bold, divisive statements? This isn't a coincidence. Social media algorithms push content that triggers emotional responses, and over time, this makes hostility feel normal. It creates echo chambers where we only see opinions that reinforce our beliefs, making us more resistant and even hostile opposing views. 3. A crisis of meaning and existential anxiety. But maybe this hostility isn't just about politics or social media. Maybe it's deeper. Maybe it's about how people feel about their place in the world. Thinkers like Nietzsche and Sartre talked about the anxiety that comes from feeling powerless or disconnected. When people don't have a strong sense of meaning or purpose, they often lash out. They look for someone to blame. Over the past decade, we've seen huge disruptions: economic instability, job insecurity, the rise of automation, a pandemic, climate anxiety. That's a lot to deal with. And when people feel uncertain about the future, they can become more defensive, more reactive. Nietzsche had a concept called ressentiment, the idea that when people feel powerless, they redirect their frustration outward, blaming others rather than taking control of their own lives. 4. The polarization of ideas and identity. Another issue is that our society has become deeply polarized, not just in politics, but in almost every aspect of identity. Whether it's race, gender, religion, or ideology, people increasingly define themselves against others rather than through shared values. The philosopher Jean-François Lyotard argued that modern society has lost its grand narratives, those big unifying stories that used to connect us, like religion, nationalism, or even belief in progress. Without these, people turn to smaller, fragmented identities, which can lead to more division, and of course, more hostility. It's no longer just about agreeing or disagreeing, it's about who you are. And when people feel that their identity is being challenged, they don't just see it as a debate, they see it as an attack. This makes discussions much more heated because every disagreement feels personal. 5. The loss of face-to-face interaction and nuance. And finally, let's talk about something simple but important: how we communicate. With the rise of digital interactions, we've lost a lot of face-to-face conversations. Online, you don't get tone of voice, facial expressions, or body language, all the little things that help us understand intent. A sarcastic joke in person can seem like an attack in a text message. A disagreement that could be softened with a smile in real life might turn into a full-blown argument in a comment section. The philosopher Seneca, a Stoic, believed that a wise person should never let emotions dictate their actions. But today's culture encourages emotional reactions rather than patience or understanding. Stoicism teaches us to pause, reflect, and respond with reason rather than impulse. Maybe that's something we need to bring back. So, what can we do? The big question is this hostility a crisis or just a transition? Societies go through periods of tension, and sometimes these moments of division lead to growth. Maybe this is just a painful but necessary period of reevaluating values. But if we want to reduce hostility, we need to start with ourselves. We can't control how others behave, but we can control how we engage. We can start by questioning our own reactions. Are we listening to, understand, or just waiting to argue? Are we reacting emotionally or thinking critically? Are we seeking common ground or just trying to win the conversation? Hostility may feel like it's increasing, but maybe it's just more visible now. If we want things to change, it starts with recognizing that and choosing to engage differently. Instead of feeding into the cycle of outrage, maybe we can be the ones who bring a little more patience, a little more nuance, and a little more understanding back into the conversation.